And Alexi.
Hi, welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve PR kerfuffles from MMA world and beyond.
We just had a kerfuffle, right? Like 10 seconds in. Oh, that's
We've
great.
got Frozen Ghost Alexi down there.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Watch out. This is the season.
Season of the
spiritual.
Right.
Do you believe in the supernatural? I'm your host, Alexi, and joining me as always is Kid Nate, Bloody Elbow, back again.
Rocking my Cubs hat for the Cubs. Yeah, you heard me.
I got it. A little baseball joke. I got it.
And Eugene S. Robinson of Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything You Ever Want to Know About Ass Kicking. We're afraid to get your ass kicked for asking.
Yes.
So, Eugene, your WME-IMG. After purchasing the UFC, you recently expanded your ownership group to include a caliber of talent and entrepreneurs as a strong indicator of UFC's fast-growing global presence. So why are you firing so many employees, reducing future cards, and seemingly closing the door on Canada?
Man, this is, I kind of touch on this on Knuckle Up. It's, new boss, not the same as the old boss. The old boss wouldn't have spent $1 million to make $10 million. New bosses will spend $1 million to make $10 million. This is probably good business all around. You know as well as I know, if there's a merger, you get two companies come together. It's called redundancy, man. You don't need. Hey, if I have a marketing person and company B has stop it. Just stop it. I got to put up with this, man. Yeah.
Is that Sorrel?
It's Sorrel. Yeah. So if company A,
company A and company B have marketing people.
Those marketing people are it's a self-correcting problem. You probably are basing it on effectiveness, mission control, as well as who's better. They're not both going to be the same. So somebody's got to go. And, if you could tell me what half those guys who left did based on what they got paid versus what the real resource of Zuffa got paid, I dare you. I dare you. This is good. This is good business all around. And the reality of it is, you as a fighter are going to do a whole hell of a lot better with WME than you were going to do under the old system. And that's a freaking reality of it. I think the Canadian thing is a GSP correction, and I think it's in some
what way.
I think people are texting me and they're saying like, oh, GSP still has a lot of cards. Canada is important. Plus, if he successfully sues and it opens up the door to Muhammad Ali Act, and it's an event. Yeah, you know what? I could think of 10 fighters that you could match GSP up against that the world would yawn about that as a return. You'd want to see a super fight with Anderson Silva. That you'd pay to see. Somebody gains some weight. You see him against McG. But you could say that about McG is like the ace. It's a 1 or 11 no matter what, So, what do you need Canada for? What do you need Canada for, What do you need? I mean, realistically speaking, you got to make these corrections. You got to make these moves. And the people who can't, what Jose Aldo's angry, comes and meets with them, and suddenly he's all right. What do you think happened? Smart guys figure this shit out quick. I'm much better off hanging out with the people at WME than I would. It's, mostly the adjustment is to realize, hey, it's not the same old bald guy behind the desk, even if it is the same old bald guy. He's I have a friend who said, I'm never going to work for somebody who doesn't have a boss. Well, a bald guy has a boss now, and that boss is 10 times smarter than he needs to be to do a good job with your career. I could be foolish, trusting in the establishment as well as much as I am in this instance, but I'm looking at WME's track record, and I'm saying it's pretty freaking good. It's pretty good for some people, maybe not for all the people, but we could say that about large social groupings of any kind.
Nate.
Well, I think Eugene fairly well covered it. I disagree somewhat. He's got this tendency to assume obeisance to power, and WME is reeking of power.
You got it, buddy. Yeah.
He's just Gollum kneeling before the Dark Lord over there. But
I love you guys.
But I also think there's a big factor of the WME is trimming fat off the roster These are pretty high-level executives we've heard about. A number of guys we're hearing about, I'm guessing, made at least 6 figures a year.
Jesus.
You know, you cut 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those guys, and you're talking millions, you know, off the bottom line. These are probably guys who are redundant to people they already have at WME. I also think this reflects WME's focus on the North American marketplace. They do not care about Lorenzo and Dana's grandiose ambitions to conquer the world. They can tell that the tides of globalization are receding. This is not going to be a good decade to do business in Russia if you're an American company, something tells me, and I think WME is probably picking up on the same thing. Likewise, the Philippines, probably not going to be such a great marketplace in the future. Asia has never been a friendly marketplace for the UFC. They've thrown a lot of money at China, never gotten anywhere. They've thrown a lot of money at Japan, never gotten them anywhere. WME's just cutting their losses. They don't care. They're not trying to conquer the world. They're trying to make money, and I think it's good for them and good for the sport. Now, as for GSP, I think that they're being a little bit penny wise and dollar foolish here. I do think GSP can raise some ruckus. I think he's got a high profile. I think there are fights that can be put on outside the UFC by GSP and his people, or by GSP in alliance with Bellator, that people would watch. You don't have to have millions of people
like
to make money on pay-per-view. Like Ben Askren. Ben Askren's out there. Ben Askren talks shit. Yeah, people will pay to see it. I guarantee you people will pay to see it. They only need a couple 100,000 people to make good money on a pay-per-view.
Do you know who Ben Askren is? Okay, there we go. Guy trains every day, here all the time, follows the sport, has no idea who Ben Askren is. Thank you very much.
I'm telling you, give it a serious ad buy and some money, and let the MMA blogs talk about it for a few weeks. He'll know.
You're going to do a promo package with Ben Askren laying on dudes.
Ben Askren actually talks shit really well.
Yeah. He does do that.
Well, the thing is, I think one thing that you're mentioning, Nate, which is
former Olympian, best guy never to get in the UFC against GSP, blah blah blah.
There's a reason
they sell that fight.
There's a reason they call him the Perry Como of MMA.
Well, the other thing is
with sweaters.
Yeah, it's a function of GSP and not enabling a company to get legitimacy off his name. Put some respect on that name. So I can see that kind of thing. So the question is, if you are,
I guess he's forgotten the last 5 fights he fought.
If you are WME-IMG, do you do anything internally PR-wise with regard to the UFC? Do you let people know anything, or you just ignore what's going on in the publications?
No, like fucking RoboCop said, man, they can fix anything. Jose Aldo comes in angry. Jose Aldo leaves happy. Anderson Silva comes in angry. Anderson Silva leaves happy. How many times you have to repeat that dance before you start to feel like a fucking outlier? I mean, these guys, there's no loyalty here, man. They just, we're going to unionize. We're going to go to fire. Yeah, my balls.
I'm talking about in terms of the employees, though, the individuals who are working for a company. At times, when you have redundancies, when you know you're going to have a reduction of staff, when you know there are changes that are afoot, some companies decide to issue internal memos, to have meetings, to kind of put fires out. Do you engage in that enterprise for the UFC if you're WME-IMG?
No.
Here's the thing WME has already screwed up. If you read Machiavelli's The Prince, he tells you, if you're going to be purging a bunch of people, do it all at once. If you have bad news, get it all out of the way now. If you have good news, trickle it out, dribs and drabs. If you're going to be handing out bonuses, just show up in the office and hand out 1 or 2 bonuses here. Maybe the next Friday, come in, do it again. But if you're cutting people, get it and get it done. Because if you have offices filled with people that all think they're going to get laid off at any time, you have offices filled with troublemakers and enemies. Don't do that to yourself. There is no reason for that. There's no reason to be slow trickling this shit out.
This is why this show works so well, because you just provided like a segue for me to get right into totalitarianism. Because with Nazis or Stalin, a little application. Yeah, right. A little application of fear is good for any organization. And if you don't think they play with that, you're crazy. Or the fucking Zig Ziglar's book about, you got to purge 10% just to keep the other 90%. and you know what happens? You could split the difference between that 90%. 45% of those guys will be gamers, people who avid self-interesters who are like, I'm sticking this out, I'm making the big money, fuck the rest of you. In other words, the sharks. The 45, nervous Nellies, the suspicious Susans, they go. Fuck it. Fuck those guys. You want a team of A-list players, you want a team of sharks, and that's who's at these companies,
So here's the thing, and I'll ask you this, Nate. If you are a UFC employee, with a new regime removing many of your colleagues, what moves must you make to preserve your position?
Buff that resume, son. Start networking, getting the word out, talking to people, and also schmooze with the WME people. I mean, Eugene's diagnosis that they're keeping the good ones and getting rid of the bad ones, that's not what's happening. They're keeping their guys and they're getting rid of somebody else's guys.
If you suck and you're at WME, man, you got to realize.
Well, yeah, but they're not getting rid of any WME guys. They don't even know the UFC people.
We wouldn't know that. We wouldn't know that.
Everybody they're laying off is UFC guys so far.
We wouldn't know if they laid off people at WME.
It's true, but I'm just telling you, the layoffs are all coming from the UFC side, and it's because they're not WME's guys. So you got to
So if you are not a WME guy, other than polishing off your resume, what do you do?
Suck ass. Get in there and get to know Ari Emanuel or whoever is your direct report. Show them you're working. Be like Ben Franklin toting bricks across the town square in his wheelbarrow. Nobody ever asks why you're working so hard. They just see that you're working so hard, and just let them know you're doing shit and getting results and get out there. That's all you can do. It's not a good position to be in. Make the best of it.
It's a great position. It's a great position to be in because it rewards hard work. That's what made America great: hard work and slave labor.
Well, one thing I will say to interject, I think that when you have a new regime in place and you do have bodies leaving, coming, going, being trampled upon, it does provide an opportunity. The fact of the matter is, whether it's a positive or negative one, it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you, if you're part of an old regime, how they used to do business, to see whether or not that currency, your understanding of an industry that your new boss may not be familiar with, like, can you be a UFC whisperer for them? I'm not necessarily talking about like ratting on people, but in terms of understanding the industry, it provides an opportunity to look at what does WMA do. You have to do your research. What are they doing? Who do they have in place? Who is probably going to be taking your job? Trying to figure out where your skill set fits in and puts in a puzzle piece that may be lacking at WME when it comes to the UFC. And at the end of the day, let's say that you are a UFC employee, you go through all this stuff, you get fired anyway. Well, guess what? At the end of the day, the research that you're doing, trying to buff up your skill set, is putting you in a better position for that new job than if you just sat on your ass and said, you know what? I've always done stuff. This is what Lorenzo let me do. Dana let me do so-and-so, so I'm going to continue doing it. Fire me. I dare you. And then you try to find a new job, and at the end of the day, you're not going to have those perks. So I would suggest for anybody who is a UFC employee of the old regime, like Nate and Eugene are saying, try to study and figure out what WME is about. Look at who is going to be, who you're going to be reporting to probably, who you're going to be working with, figure out their skill sets, try to make friends, try to buff up your skill set. What makes you so important or so valuable? Use this as an opportunity to excel.
Or like the Baldwin himself said, remember, MMA is not a long-term career.
Right? That's true. That's very true.
How do you like that worm turning, baby? They did, the guys behind the desk never thought it meant them.
That's right. Suits. If you're a suit, you think that you're immune to this stuff, but you are not.
You are
no.
not.
And one caveat, if you're going to be the UFC whisperer for somebody, do not tell them everything you know, and do not let them think you're telling them everything they know.
Exactly, yes.
Be a font of information for them when asked. One little nugget at a time, but always keep it clear that you got many, many secrets, and you know where many bodies are buried, and you're not just pouring out your heart and all your information so they can use you and throw you away.
That's true.
I had a boss when I was it was at Code Magazine, and it was Estelle Parsons' daughter. She was the boss, and she, had hired like the B-list glitterati. Frank Zappa's daughter worked there. She had all these people. Unbeknownst to me, she had decided to quit. And she like said in April or May, yeah, Eugene, I got to tell you, I'm quitting. You know, maybe I think they'll make a play for the job. You'll get the job. So she quits. And I go, okay, where's all the stuff for the next issue? She goes, it's on my computer. She leaves. So I move into the big office, sit down at the computer, open it up, look in the stuff for the June issue. And it's like butterflies in the folder. I call her. I say, hey, Abby, I can't seem to find the issue. All right. She goes, oh, it's there. I go, which folder? She tells me the folder. I go into the other folder, butterflies. And finally, I realize after a second call, there is no issue. She had no issue. You know, this is like Hollywood fucking Julius Caesar stuff par excellence. She's leaving. Fuck you. I take my issue with me. It's like that guy, the front of house mixer, who they fired him mid-show. He goes, oh, okay. And he zeroed out the board. They go, what are you doing? And they tried to sue the guy. He goes, me, my mix, we're both leaving. You don't like my mix leaves. You know, so she did the same thing. And you got to realize information is currency. Don't. You can't, at this point now, my advice to you is this, Claudius, trust no one.
That's true. That's so very true. So speaking about trust and new information, At.You're the UFC. The Boston Globe reported that the forensic pathologist, Dr. Bennet Omalu, who Will Smith portrayed in the Concussion movie, detailing the NFL cover-up of brain trauma, detected chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, in the brain of the deceased 25-year-old Bellator fighter Jordan Parsons. Quote, these findings confirm that the danger of exposure to CTE is not limited to just football, hockey, and wrestling. Mixed martial arts is also a dangerous sport, and it's time for everyone to embrace the truth, end quote. What is your proactive and reactive PR plan in the wake of this sport-killing development?
This is one of those things where they've got to take actual steps. They can't just talk shit. They actually have to do something. And I think what they need to do is blame it on the gyms. They need to come out and say, you idiots are training and fighting too hard, too much in the gyms. We're going to start doing spot inspections of the gyms and make sure people are wearing headgear when they're sparring. People are wearing bigger pads on their gloves when they're sparring. People are not having full contact sparring more than 2 times a week. I mean, just stuff like that, and break these gyms that are in these habits of having 5 days of war like Chuda Boxing used to do, where these guys are just killing themselves in the gym. Literally, that's what's happening. It's not the fights where these guys are getting most of the head trauma. It's training in the gym day in, day out. It's getting a concussion in the gym and going back the next day and doing it again and making the concussion worse. You got to make sure if a guy gets concussed, he's sitting out, that he's doing something else, that he's lifting weights, that he's jogging, whatever, not sparring again. That's what they need to do. Take the initiative, take some responsibility, and blame somebody else. That's
yeah.
What do you think, Eugene?
I like that. I like that where Nate was going with that, because it was a little less cynical than my proposition was. You know, you got to start paying off the right guys. The Will Smith guy, you go, you know, you're doing really bold work, dude. You know, I'd really like to back you. I'd really like to back you. What do you need? What do you need to, you know, make it? And the guy, if he knows what you're fucking talking about, he looks at you or you look at him, and he writes it on a piece of paper, shoves it across the table, and you push back a fucking check. And that's it. And then he can free up his time now that he doesn't have to worry about the day-to-day to focus on things that really matter. Football, hockey, boxing, and then maybe he'll get to MMA later.
Don't you think it's just easier and cheaper to just give Damian Maia a title shot, the guy who takes so few shots, and make him the poster child for your organization?
Yeah, I like that. But I also like my Leonard Cohen universe. Everybody knows. Everybody knows the dice are loaded. Everybody knows that the good guys lost. So I'm a little bit more cynical. So, but no, I mean, I think Nate is right. You know, people are killing themselves, and they're killing themselves in practice. And there's no, I mean, like we look at the first wave of bodybuilders. Everybody who's taking steroids, look at the first, and you know, anytime there's Arnold news, guys are like, oh, what? Oh, heart murmur. Oh, you know. So they, you know, we're paying attention. So this is the same sort of thing. We don't. Hey. No, they're laughing about my fight. There you go. There you go. I'm being mocked in Portuguese. So,
well, speaking of Portuguese mocking, Eugene, you're Ralek Gracie, founder and president of Bennet Omalu. Float Grappling reported that your brothers Ryron and Rener, head instructors of the Gracie Academy in Torrance, California, sent an email to all of the 100+ Gracie Certified Training Centers worldwide that they, quote, have decided to terminate all business relations, end quote, with you and your jiu-jitsu promotion for engaging in, quote, dishonest and fraudulent activity, end quote. Sounds ugly. Do you privately tell them, quote, life is harsh, hug me, don't reject me, end quote, or should business now be taken care of in public, if you will?
Is this for me or is this for Nate?
That's for you.
Oh, man. You know, the Gracies are a very large family with a very long history. And, you know, the Osmonds said it best. One bad apple's worth a whole bunch, girl. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you don't want me. So, sorry.
Man, you missed career calling, dude.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
I knew you were a Jimmy Osmond, man. I knew it.
Oh, that's right. That was Jimmy. That was Jimmy, not Donnie. Anyway, I mean, man, you know, I'd like right now, by a show of hands, anybody who has not been ripped off by a Brazilian to raise your hand right now. Federico Lapenda from – oh, really? Hang around a little bit longer.
I've been working with Brazilians for a while now.
Federico Lapenda, who used to be WVC World Vale Tudo Championship, used to manage Marco Huas, still owes me $90 every time. Even the guy that doesn't do fights anymore, he's into film producing. Every time we talk, I go, hey, man, what about my $90? See, for him, that was 13 years ago, and he's never going to pay. For me, it's a pebble in my fucking shoe. I mean, I'm not saying you should have seen it coming, but maybe you should have seen it coming. The sad part about it is Metamoris in theory and in actual practice was so cool, but it gets hard, man. It gets hard. You know why it gets hard? I'll tell you why it gets hard. Because the money goes out in truckloads, but the money comes back in shopping carts. So it's easy to say, fuck, I got to pay rent. I'll take that shopping cart here. I got car insurance. I'll take that here. And then next thing you know, the fighters are like, hey, man, where's my shopping cart? You go, oh, shit, well, I'm about 18 shopping carts short, I mean, this is not exculpatory. It's hard enough to be in this fucking business on the fighter side, but the parallel I'm making is to musicians. And I know after 30 years of making music since 1980, I know that on that screw you chain, I'm the first to get screwed and I'm the last to get screwed. And if you're going to make music, that's the reality of it, So sorry to have to wake you up to reality, but it's not like you're going anyplace else and things going to be any better. It's not the organization, it's the people. So
what do you think, Nate?
It's too late for Metamoris and for this particular Gracie. But the word of advice for future promoters who get ambitious out there is play with somebody else's money. Get somebody else to put up a big pot of money and make sure you can pay the high-profile named fighters on your first few events. And then, if the thing doesn't make money, don't hold any more events. But you got to get the money in the bank, ready to pay the expenses for everything you book. If you put together a business plan that says, I'm going to get just enough cash together to do the promos and to hook up the pay-per-view infrastructure for this, and then when everybody buys the pay-per-view, I'll make so much money, then I'll pay the fighters, you do not have a business plan. That is not a business plan, and you're setting yourself up for ruining your reputation in the fight game forever.
Forever. At this point now, who's coming in? Who's coming in with a check? Nobody.
Yeah,
that's
nobody.
And what's sad is, especially in the CTE MMA world now too, where you have an organization that was getting, I can't say it's getting like a tremendous amount of eyeballs compared to UFC or Bellator, but at the end of the day, starting with a good foundation and could be used in a PR positive way in terms of the preserving your brain and enabling individuals at all stages of their career to compete.
It did better than Raw. If you remember, that was the big grappling event. So,
and people were interested. The big problem on the product side with Metamoris is they had too many draws and the rule set wasn't pushing the action enough, and it was rewarding guys for some pretty flagrant bullshit. Was it Brendan Schaub that got in there and just played a completely bullshit game? I mean,
I got a text that says, for a Brazilian that gives out black belts online to say, quote, yeah, this guy's way too shady to do business with, end quote, I mean, fuck.
Indeed.
Pot
Indeed.
meet kettle. Kettle meet pot.
Well, Kid Nate meet Drake, because that's who you are.
Now, Drake, I've heard of this Drake kid. I hear he's coming up.
Rap Ralek Kid Cudi called you a fake, quote, jealous, chicken-hearted shit, end quote. Less than a month later, he told the world he was checking into rehab to deal with, quote, depression and suicidal urges, end quote. His admission inspired a hashtag, You Good Man, and praise for highlighting mental health issues. It also inspired a diss track you released Monday. Quote, still never been on hiatus. You stay zen and perked up, so when reality set in, you don't gotta face it, end quote. Fans and experts made your hotline bling with hurt, shock, and confusion. Do you need a one dance with PR, or is that just a drain of your energy?
I think it was pretty beautifully executed. Twitter is a personal expression, communication. He said the nice thing he had to say between them. His music is his art. He's created a persona, and his persona is not to be dissed and to diss back hard when he's been dissed. I think this is totally kosher. Rap battles are rap battles. It's like, if you can't understand the difference between a rap battle and a real-life insult, quit watching pro wrestling, kid. It's all fake. That's, like, enjoy the rap battle for what it is. Cool Mo D and LL Cool J don't actually hate each other. It's a game.
Oh yeah. Oh, really?
Well, they might hate each other, but you know what?
Nobody ever had a rap battle with?
You.
The Booyah Tribe.
Oh, that's true.
I wonder why. I wonder why they never had a rap battle with the Booyah Tribe.
Narcotic in the band? I don't know.
Because they didn't want to run the risk that the guys wouldn't get the joke. Yeah. You don't want to be fucked around, don't fuck around. That's the way it works. Some guys will play that game. Some guys absolutely positively don't. Hey, look, I just interviewed Bruce Cutler. And Bruce Cutler, for those who don't know, was John Gotti's defense attorney for many years. Got him off 3 times. And
if you're looking for a defense attorney who takes cash in paper bags, Bruce Cutler is one of the best. And not small dollars, big bags.
Better call Bruce, and I tried to get him to fucking talk shit about, dude, Gotti's been dead since, 2006 or whatever. We died, 2002, died from cancer in prison. He would not do it. It's like, hey, man.
Kids ain't dead.
Exactly. Hey, man, these are guys who are not known for their fucking senses of humor, And I got to take my hat off again to Kid Nate for making the Pretty Amberg pick call.
Although you should have got the mugshot in the article. That's public domain. Come on. Do it right.
Yeah. So Eugene, you don't think that Drake needs to do anything with this?
No, he needs to push the song, build the controversy. He's trying to sell downloads here.
You too, Eugene?
Yeah, I mean, insofar as I'm barely tasked to give a fuck, yes.
Wow. Well, let's
no. I mean, I gotta say, my kids went to see Kanye the other night. My oldest kid went twice to see him, and kind of like he had the floating stage, which I was filled with feelings of envy for because I thought it was genius. So you come in to the arena like this, you see a normal stage. The band is there. He steps on this thing, and he takes a few steps back onto this slightly raised platform, and then it goes, whoom! It's a loft. It's like, Jesus, man. How glorious would that be? That would be really phenomenal to have. Of course, the rest of my band would go, fuck you, no way, or you, no way. Yeah. But it was people, there was a mosh pit. There was, I don't know. In general, I can't be arsed to give a fuck about pop music, but I do like feuds that have the potential to end up with somebody in the hospital. So,
So Eugene, your NBA star Derrick Rose, after being cleared of rape, you took celebratory photos with the jurors. What part of your post-trial PR was that about?
I think based on the photos, what seemed to be his general level of uncomfortability in the photos, I think one, that he was having a hard time switching from aggrieved, I barely got out of this mode, to being rushed by the jurors who wanted the fucking picture and was just like, okay, oh shit, what do I do? I'm not, on appeal, am I going to get these same guys? He didn't look like it doesn't look like he jumped the fucking, he jumped the barrier and was into the, he didn't stage dive into the jury box and was hugging and high-fiving people. It more looked to me like they rushed him. I think he was still in shock from the pressing reality of looking at how many ever years of jail he was looking at for.
It was a civil case. It was just cash money they wanted.
Whatever. Cash money means career these days. I guess it was a civil case, but I think he still seemed to be. I'm just based on a glimpse at a photo. He still seemed to be in shock to me. So, because I'm saying that because it was a poorly thought out PR strategy. If it was a strategy of any kind, you want to be humble, get the fuck out of the courtroom as quickly as possible. Thank you.
But you know what? If Derrick Rose is a defendant and I find him not guilty, I rule in his favor. I get a photo with him, man.
No, I don't think people made that change. I mean, to me, it's
the future, though. The future PR.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't want to relitigate, but it seemed. I mean, wasn't he exonerated largely by
text?
The text trail, all right? Inviting him over for the kind of party that they did have. I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this whole consent issue. And since the Donald Trump thing, and I think that it's, I mean, what the gray weird area that people are not touching on is how men and women get together in the first place, right? I mean, I don't think any of us here, I could be wrong, with our partners, the first time we kissed them, asked, "Can I kiss you?" Did any of you guys do that? Did you say, okay? So, but there was some sort of implied consent.
I was too busy getting the cheek. That's the first couple of dates.
Oh my God! Then you're a trooper. You stuck in there, man. I got the cheek too many times. I'm out. So I mean, I think. And they have that, some school back east has this consent policy that has incremental consent where you have to say, "Can I kiss you?" Yes. "Can I take your shirt off?" Yes. "Can I take your bra off?" Yes. "Can I put my hand on your breast?" Yes. And they said, "Look, they said, I'm sorry, I would rather over control than under control, because under control has led to problems that we don't want to see happen." So the consent issue has got me. I've been thinking about, I mean, how do you handle naturalism, right? Which is the fact that none of us got consent before we got together with our spouses. However, consent was somehow given. Well, we based it post facto, right? After we went in for the kiss, our face wasn't slapped and we didn't end up in court. That's how we know? Is that the only way we know?
Man.
Gotta have some game. Gotta have some sensitivity, a little mind reading.
That's the thing.
This affirmative consent stuff is bullshit, though. Nobody does that.
That's right. That's what it was called. Thank you. I couldn't remember.
Trying to impose some stricture of rational behavior on super or sub-rational behavior does not work. Like human beings, the sexual love chemistry thing is happening on a hormonal level, on an instinctual level. A lot more information is being processed by the intuitive brain than can be fathomed by the rational brain. If you've ever had one of these relationships, like remember on Seinfeld when Jerry and Elaine decide, hey, we're going to sleep together and we're going to have all these rules and it'll all work out great. And then it's a disaster because love doesn't follow rules. So trying to impose these rule sets on an instinctive, evolved process is a recipe for failure.
And yet I've gone another way with it, because I'm starting to feel like the American male population is distinctly sort of unsympathetic on a very basic level to this whole, to wanting to pillory fucking Trump for this thing. It's like, oh, well. And I was like, really? Okay. Hey, I got. Why don't you come over to my house for a little bit?
Some
Come
of
over
this
to my
shit
come over to
pull.
my house and let me grab your penis and see how comfortable you feel. That's why guys are so flipped out. You shut up. You see how guys are so flipped out
Somebody
about
getting a date?
about homosexuality because suddenly men are in a position to have to deal with other men and a sexual man. You know, like if a smaller man gets hit on by a larger man, how comfortable do you think that guy feels? He doesn't feel very comfortable because he's hoping that the other guy is rational enough to not push the issue. Women feel that way all the fucking time. The guy laughing right now doesn't speak a word of English. He's just taken by the general sense of humor of my delivery.
Which knows no language.
Yeah, right.
So Nate, in terms of the Derrick Rose, though, in terms of the photograph, going after that,
the guy got exonerated so hard by the texts that came up in the chick's records that her attorneys tried to hide. This girl was bringing the ex. This girl was bringing the other girl. I mean, the gall of this lady to sue this dude after she set him up is just fucking unbelievable. And the jurors should be hugging the guy. He got exonerated because the evidence was all on his side. I mean, you know, he was the good guy in this story. I mean, he doesn't look like a saint or even a particularly smart or nice guy, but apparently he's a fun guy to party with if you got some ex and a wild girlfriend or whatever, or you're after his money, which seems to be the thing here. You know, from his perspective, it's unlikely she's going to sue him again because she just got her ass handed to her in court. And I don't think that I don't think she has many appeals left. She's going to be paying for this. The big whiff of NBA star money is long gone from this case. No lawyer is going to want to take this shit on. Not many good ones. And he's going to have better. He's going to have better lawyers and more money coming back at you. And that's just a losing game that most sensible people don't want to play. So I think he's off. I think he's done. I think he just needs to get back out there and focus on the basketball game, keep collecting those condoms, and maybe get a steady girlfriend who cares about you as a person instead of just picking up these skanks who are trying to use you for money.
And that, my friends, is one to grow on. Hey, Nate, while you're talking about the future,
skanks want to use my money? Oh, I don't have any money.
You're Donald Trump. Republican strategist and friend of Eugene Robinson, Karl Rove, told Fox News he just doesn't see you winning. Do you care what he sees?
I care that he sees my brand new Republican TV channel / internet media empire that's going up. He's starting to do live news shit on Facebook today. I mean, this is a long con for Trump, and he's got his buddy Banyan from Breitbart, and maybe Ailes is still in on it. Alex Jones is probably in on it. They're creating a new media empire. They're just herding the deplorables into a cul-de-sac, and they're just going to harvest the deplorables. Trump's going to be selling them gold futures and prepper supplies and all the shit that Glenn Beck and those other assholes peddle these fools, and he's going to make a lot of money, and he's going to stay in the public eye, and it's off into the sunset. Trump even said, hey, I'm behind a little bit. I mean, the writing is on the wall. The dude is getting smoked. I mean, at this point, it's very clear to anybody who can read a poll at all, dude is done. And you know, he's moving on to the next. This is not the first time Trump has burned a bunch of fools, shamelessly smiled and moved on down the road. I mean, this is just another con for Trump. He's on to the next one.
What do you think, Eugene?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the issue for me in Trump is how long will he lick his wounds for, right? I mean, for example, after the George W. thing, how long did Al Gore sulk? Well, I would make the claim that Al Gore is still sulking because he divorced his
Inconvenient Truth into the theaters pretty quick.
He got it pretty quick, and then he got the whole CNET debacle, and then divorced his wife.
Well, and he got on the board of Google and got billions of dollars handed to him for what exactly? I'm not sure. So, no tears for Al Gore.
No. I wasn't saying that he tears, but you know, I just like, you know, there's a point at which I would expect and would hope, of course, what I hope and expect is that Trump would say, you know, that this would be a chastening and that he would have, yeah, I know, right, and that he would disappear, you know, into moody self-reflection at Mar-a-Lago, staring out at the ocean and listening to Jimmy Buffett. I hope that that's what he did, but I don't think that's. I think we're not, like Donald Cerrone said about Conor McGregor. Now I got to listen to this guy again. Yeah, after he beat Nate the second time for the second matchup. So, yeah, I would have hoped for that, but I think the media empire. I think the media empire will keep the streets from running with blood at the very least, and Fox is done. Even though Trump apparently has had a falling out with Roger Ailes, Fox is done.
So this is our curveball. Eugene, you're John Jones. You went on a Twitter rampage last night.
Yeah.
About PED accusations as it relates to your skill set and what you've been able to accomplish. People have interpreted this Twitter storm as excuses and justifications for the alleged steroid PED usage. They're asking for stronger language, disavowing the tainted drug test. Do you pay attention? Or do you tweet and delete and go about your way until
you fucking tweet and delete, man, because this isn't has he forgotten Street Overlord? Hey, come on, liquor store boner pills. Come on, man. Come on. If I'm him, I just just delete. I don't want people to know I'm taking liquor store fucking boner pills. I don't want it known. I don't want to know. I would rather. There's a lot of stuff I could live with much more healthily that I just, my ego doesn't allow for this. Liquor store boner pills? Are you fucking kidding me? What's wrong with Cialis, Viagra? What is it? The one that starts with an L. I don't even remember the name of it. So Leviathan, or what was the one that starts? I mean, did he have to? You know how many texts I got last night that said Street Overlord? Come on, man. It's like standing up and saying, I don't really have erectile difficulty. Hey, man, you just said erectile difficulty 6 times. You're supposed to be trying to forget about this shit. Plus the fact that you're married or you got some steady. Who's advising this guy? Who is advising him?
Not us.
You need to fucking focus on your future like the future is already there, man. And at this point now, your future is completely hung up in DC and Rumble, and Gustafsson is out with a Chris Weidman-esque injury. Verdum. I mean, this idea of moving up Verdum and then Cain Velasquez. There's other things to focus on. Why do you keep dragging us back? Why do you keep dragging us back, man?
It looks like bad FM, man.
It looks like it looks like you're out of the woods. What the fuck are you? Just tweet. Got it. Delete. And we're done. Come on.
What do you think, Nate?
Again, yeah. But the thing is, Eugene, not everybody has time to go to a doctor and get a prescription. That's the thing. When you meet a gal at a truck stop and you're already all mollied up.
Hey, those machine guys.
No, you just got to move with the moment, Eugene. Baby mama's seeing you out for the milk. You only have so much time. I mean, maybe the 2-hour milk run is going to get bought, but you don't have time to. Yeah. So you
got
to return the rental car in like an hour and a half anyway.
Man. Plus, you got the vending machine that's got the condoms and it's got the Street Overlord. One stop, you're in and you're out. I guess that maybe you're right. Who has time to order from India?
Yeah. Or to get Eugene's legacy pill.
What is that thing? There was a big 3, man. This is like, how could people forget the L1? They just lost the PR battle right there. Cialis, somebody's got to know. See, now everybody's acting like they don't know. What?
Was it Levitor or?
No, that's like a hard applicant thing.
I don't know. I mean, you see these ads on late night TV and they all bleed together.
Well, somebody's okay. Now everybody's shy. Nobody knows what it is, and I'm the only one who vaguely.
No, I think it goes back to what you said earlier. It's about the PR. It's about the marketing battle. There's a clear winner. There are clear winners in PED penis performance enhancing
Levitra.
medication.
Levitra. I knew it started with an L.
But you know you have it when you call it ED. Right?
Okay, right.
Like you don't have guys who actually have it calling it, say, the limpness.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Down with the limpness.
I got hit with the lip.
Well, you know, there's that old joke. There's that old joke about the two Jewish guys and best friends, and one guy gets home a little early from work and finds his friend screwing his wife, and the guy looks and goes, "Harry, I have to, but you." You know, many men get to that stage sooner or later.
Man, well, that sounds like a great segue into the teachable moment. Nate, you're the Nobel Prize Committee. You awarded Bob Dylan a Nobel Prize in Literature for, quote, having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition, end quote. Not only has the decision baffled and enraged the literary world, Bob refuses to publicly acknowledge it. According to Reuters, one of your members broke ranks and said Dylan's silence is, quote, rude and arrogant, end quote. Can you tell us, how does it feel to have an award to be without a home? Like a complete unknown? Like a Rolling Stone.
I mean, there's certain situations. This is why this is a teachable moment. You played yourselves, homie. I mean, Dylan lives for shit like this. Like anybody who with any awareness of Dylan's antics over the years knows he's gonna just diss this as hard as he possibly fucking can. This guy could barely go to the White House to get the National Medal of Honor. I mean, this guy doesn't want to go to Sweden. There's no money involved. He doesn't need the money. He's already famous as shit. And fuck the Nobel Prize for Literature. They gave Pearl S. Buck the Nobel Prize. I mean, give me all this. Dylan doesn't deserve it. I mean, look how many mediocre Norwegian novelists have won this shit. I mean, this is not a big thing. They gave Obama the Peace Prize before he did anything, and then all he did was, you know,
okay, all right.
I mean, these guys are ass clowns, and they're getting exposed. So here's the Dylan. He's revealed the truth once again.
Well, also, there are a couple of things. Dylan is a notorious. Well, first of all, I guess they didn't see any R.E. Pennybaker's movies that happen to have documentaries where Dylan was just randomly striking out. You know, the guy's a contrarian, right? But secondly, what I've discovered after reading is that the guy
not random. It's people who were sucking up to him and kissing his ass.
Yeah, that's true.
Over and over again.
And why? Why? Because as been revealed by careful, close reading later, the guy is actually majorly insecure. I don't know if you ever caught that Johnny Cougar Mellencamp said, you know, Dylan would call him at some point and go, "Oh man, I need some help with the lyrics," you know. And it didn't help that people like Joni Mitchell were like, "That guy is a fake, he's a phony, he's a fraud." You mean Robert Zimmerman? She was not going for the whole, you know, Woody Guthrie ripoff, fucking boho bullshit. So the guy between that, I mean, under base level, he doesn't feel like he really deserves it, and he's really saving us. Because there's a short, slippery slide from him getting the award to Justin Bieber getting the award.
Jimmy Buffett.
Right. You know, so, I mean, they might not know it, but Dylan is saving them from them fucking selves. Because once you open the door, it's just Grammys Jr., you know. Oh, okay, then who's next? Bruce Springsteen? Not saying I don't like Bruce Springsteen. Not saying Bruce Springsteen shouldn't be there, but man, these are people of letters. You know, I mean, he's got a pool, got a Rolls Royce. He doesn't need the Nobel Prize, please. You know.
Wow, man. Whew. You know, it's so funny. That's probably the calmest moment with the silence that we've had in this episode today. And when people last week were saying, like, it was so calm, just you and Eugene and just with two people. It's like,
people say
that's
that?
why we call it herding cats. Yeah, there are a couple people who's like, oh, it's so calm. And there's such a flow, man. And so
everybody was shitting on Nate. How do you?
Who didn't miss me is getting banned. That's all I comment about how I wasn't missed. You're banned.
Fucking Nate was in the end. Nate was in the comments fishing for hey, something's missing. Is anybody out there? Hey, these commenters are fucking merciless, man. You know. I can tell.
No
You think
sense.
these guys are trying to keep me from burning myself to death online? No, they're not. They are not getting me nominated for MMA commentator of the year. They are not. So.
Oh man.
I do have something that I want to steal from somebody who texted me. Yes. And I can't take credit for this. I don't know. The dude wants me to mention his name, but he had a great take. And he goes, for the first time ever, we're seeing the Lost Battalion fight the Phantom Toll Booth. Speaking specifically about Shane Carwin versus Fedor. and I was like thinking, have there been many cross-divisional matchups? Has a Dark Star fought a Lost Battalion? Has a Lost Battalion fought a fucking Major Tom? And so now I'm still thinking about that, but I'm going to lead off. I can't take credit for that. It wasn't my idea, but I thought, what a fucking great idea. I never thought about things in those terms. Lost Battalion versus Phantom Toll Booth. Who wins that one? Shane Carwin.
Well, you know, it's funny though. It goes to something that you'd mentioned a while back, Eugene, when on an old Knuckle Up, when you were talking about one of the joys you had watching Bellator at a certain point, and I'm sure that it passed because you hadn't talked about it since, was realizing the stakes for the fights and realizing that the stakes are a lot higher for individuals who are used to be high marquee guys are now in Bellator. You can't lose. Okay. So I think that the viewer who gave in that suggestion and how they build the Fedor versus Shane Carwin, dude, you need to be hired. You and that person need to be hired in terms of amping up any kind of like Bellator or non-UFC or even Fight Pass level cards. Like, let me tell you what's at stake here. This is why you got to care. Yeah. No, I mean, I've actually been. I'm sorry if I missed the middle part of what you say because I was being tormented by Sorrel. But look what we got here. Look at Sorrel. See, same sex is alive at the Sorrel Academy.
How romantic! Show him some acceptance, Eugene.
Yeah, but you know, so I think that. I forgot what I was going to say. How do you like that?
The key is going to be drug testing that fight. That's the key. What's the drug testing regime?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to think that Shane is clear, but no. What you were saying is these guys. I mean, because we have a object lesson, right? And that object lesson is called Ben Henderson. Who? Ben Henderson. Who? Ben Henderson. Yeah, exactly. You know. So you can't be losing this fight. What happens when you got a Chael Sonnen against a Tito Ortiz? Not only who wins that, what happens to those guys post facto? Tito is already PT'd in the Bellator, not going anywhere. Come on. But
did you see that debate? Oh, man.
Yeah. Hey man. You know what? Look, I got a certain number of feel sorry things, and I'm only feeling sorry. Who's first on my list of people to feel sorry for?
You.
Me. That's who. Yeah. Me. Like sports agent extraordinaire Sal Russo said, "Who would you rather be, me or a raccoon?" He goes, at least people like raccoons, right?
I don't.
Yeah, you don't. But generally, people like raccoons.
Rocket raccoon.
Yeah, they do not like me. So anyway, cross-divisional championships are worth watching purely for the desperation factor.
Man.
One note about raccoons: they're adorable when they're eating your garbage, not so adorable when they're eating your pets.
Or when they're chewing off your penis. Did you remember that story? You remember that story?
I do.
Man,
that was self-inflicted, man.
That was cock blocking non-pariah. That guy goes down in the cock blocking Hall of Fame forever.
What happened? I don't remember that.
These people had gone out to the woods. Some military types had gone out to the woods camping. Two men and a woman. And one of the guys thought, "Oh wow, this is gonna be a threesome," and the woman was like, "Yeah. A threesome without you." And so she banishes him from the tent and she disappears into the tent with the other dude, right? And so the guy's outside, he's been drinking and he's grousing and he's like, and they're screwing in the tent and he's not getting laid. And he sees a nice, fuzzy, furry fucking raccoon wander into their wander. He's telling me not to tell a story. He sees the raccoon wander into the campsite, and he goes, "Hey, man, I could have sex with the raccoon." So he's been drinking, right? So he approaches the raccoon with an erection, and the raccoon turns around and bites his fucking penis off. The guy starts screaming, "Ah!" And he runs over to the tent where the other couple is having sex, and his bleeding, severed penis, squirting blood all over. And they rush him to the hospital, and he fucking dies.
Wow.
He dies, but those people never consummated their act of sex, making him the Hall of Fame cock-blocking champion. He gave his life to stop another fellow from having sex. Hey, there you go.
Thanks for joining us.
Follow us on Twitter. The moral of the story is rednecks' bodily fluids are getting in your tent one way or the other.
Man, all right.
Follow us on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson, a kid named Alexi O. Please give us a thumbs up, Eugene.
Hey. Look at Johnny Boney Joni right between the double birds. Yeah.
Is this penis still in the Lost Battalion?
Yeah. You know what? Because he raised a specter. How many of you had forgotten Street Overlord until his fucking Twitter storm last night? And then based on the number of texts I'm getting, plenty of people were reminded of Street Overlord based on the text he sent last night, tweets he sent last night.
Here you go. For whoever's facing him next, they have to do that in the smack talk. Street Overlord. With a Street Overlord over here.
Yeah. Oh, I would be merciless. You know. I would bring him flyers from the doctors about ED. But you see, that's got a mixed bag, man. Because like Chael Sonnen said, it was like being in the cage with a bear. Nah. It's like my fight recently at the U.S. Open that I won in stunning fashion.
How did you win that again?
Key lock, baby.
Wow, Eugene gets a tap.
Fucking sub.
I think we need to put together a pitch and sell a children's book. Eugene gets the tap.
Unlimited weight class. And then the first thing I do is turn around. I see Sorao in the stands, and I go, "Ha!" And then he turns around. He's looking at me, and he goes, "Ah!" And then he says later, "Are you fucking stupid?" I go, "What are you talking about?" Because you could have been disqualified for that. I go, "Oh, really?" See, this place is like a pirate ship, man. We don't know the rules. We can't go anyplace else because we get banned, you know?
Well, he did tell you the rules eventually.
At the end, you know?
Yeah, well.
Well, you can also get banned by leaving the wrong comment on YouTube. But if you'd like to leave some nice ones, leave some on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube and MMA Nation on iTunes. Visit Bloody Elbow. Read Eugene at Ozzy.com, and be sure to check out all three of us on Amazon.com.
Actually, there's a piece up on Ozzy.com today. Ever been punched in the face by a book about Harley Flanagan's bio? And because no good deed goes unpunished, he busted my balls for a sentence in the last paragraph where it said, more true than not. He goes, "Man, it was all true." Oh, God, Jesus Christ, man. How about thank you, Eugene? But the guy's a black belt, but I'm not.
Well, that might be a preview of next week's show. And we'll be back next week with another installment, If I Did It. And we don't know what we're going to be discussing because the PR mistakes have yet to be made.